Hi everybody, it's TJ with Netpicks.com and the Spotlight Power Trader. I'm going to look at some of the trades of the week. I just finished a video walking through all the trades for crude oil futures. We'll focus on some different markets with this video. Today is Friday, options expiration day, third Friday of the month. Typically a difficult day to trade, although most everything ended up pretty positive with Spotlight anyway. The YM has been very slow as of late. It was a really hot market a couple months ago and it's really slowed down, but it's still producing. So let's go through today's session and I'll show you what I mean. You can see some nice winning trades right here, very obvious, but this is all in the pre-market. This blue trade, unfortunately, was about 22 minutes too early. So now we're waiting for our 8:30 start time. Remember, that's 8:30 exchange time. This is traded out of Chicago, so 8:30 Central is 9:30 New York time. That's when the market's open. The first trade comes here at 9:17. Now you'll notice this magenta bar, that marks our filter on when we could start taking trades after the yellow line crosses up and over the pink line. That's a 50 moving average crossing over the 200 moving average. The default setting for Spotlight is you would count 20 bars and then you could start taking short trades. I set mine to 8 bars. 8 bars is what I typically use. It's not the default settings. And in this case, it hurt me because that trade triggered short and then came up and stopped out. So if you're using the default settings, you'd still be flat. But that's okay. You know, you can't change your rules after the fact, but I just wanted to explain to you in case you're wondering why the magenta bar showed up so soon after the crossing of those moving averages. It's because that's where I have it set on my calculator. The next trade then is a short trade here, and it gets short. I'm not going to work around this spike because it's too big of an adjustment. I'll make 1, 2 tick adjustments, maybe 3, but this one would have been a 5 tick adjustment, and it's just too much. I'm not going to make that big of an adjustment. The short comes at 68 right there, and it's going to come down and hit money management, doesn't quite get to target 1, and then come up and stop out for a break-even trade. So I need a target 2 winner for positive or power of quitting goals, and that's going to come on the next trade. So there's another short right here, and this one you would adjust around that little spike. See the difference? Instead of getting short at 89, that spikes at 88, get short at 87. And it's going to push through and hit its target 2, target 3, target 4, and then stop out. And target 2 definitely is bigger. If you make the little adjustment, it's 24 points. The losing trade lost 18 points. And so you're positive. Not a huge positive result with a single position, but if you're trading multiple positions, target 3, target 4, and or the trailer, you can see how nicely the session ended on Friday. And a winning session and new all equity highs for this trade plan with the YM. And just going backwards, we'll look at another trade. This was an interesting one because it looked like this market wanted to go lower. And you had a little pause here into the lines and looking like another action move down. But it wasn't able to get much lower, and usually when a market fails to follow through after breaking through support, it could lead to a nice strong move in the opposite direction, and as luck would have it, that was the first trade of the day for the YM, and you can see it's just a perfect trade. It comes all the way up, and look at it hit target 4 right on the money before coming down and stopping out. It's a one and done session on the YM. We'll look at this Tuesday's trade because there's something that happened I want to make sure that you understand. You hear me talk about these stop and reverse maneuvers all the time, and I want to just stress to you that it is part of the trade plan. It's what you want to do. If you don't know how to do it, it's something you want to practice. You could ask me about it in the trade room. But look how it affected this session on Tuesday. Clear long trade here. Again, my crossover filter is set to 8. So on the 9th bar, gives me the long trade. And it comes up, just misses money management by 1 tick, so the stop does not move. And then it looks like it's getting short on this yellow setup. The yellow setup is at 89, but remember what I said, we make a 2-tick adjustment, and then if we need to adjust around a key level, we will. So 89 pushes down to 87. So we don't get short at 89. Remember, we want to protect the trade we're in while respecting the fact that market could be turning in the opposite direction. So we ask for extra price action confirmation. We need this price to push a little lower to reverse us out of the blue trade and into the yellow trade. And it's unable to do that. Instead, you stay long. Now, the calculator is out of sorts here, right? Because it thinks it gets short, then it thinks it gets long again here. But we're still long. We know what these colors mean. So you may be wondering why I didn't get in sync with this yellow trade when it came back down and stabbed through the level. And the reason why is because it came up and it hit its own stop. So in essence, if you didn't adjust, it would have gotten short and stopped out, and as far as I'm concerned, that setup is over. So I'm not going to get in sync with it then once it comes down again. I'm still going to stay long, and the stop is down here. And that rule really served us well on this session, as you can see. So this is a good learning point. This is really important that you understand how we handle some of the ups and downs. The strategy is all about a certain amount of confirmation stacking up on our side, and the most important is price action itself. So we use that. We use that to protect the trade we're in while respecting the fact the market could be turning in the other direction. So we have to be ready to stop and reverse, and we were. That stop and reverse order would have been placed right there. But as soon as it comes up and hits a stop, you're canceling the stop and reverse and just staying with your original trade. And even though, let me just back up a little, it looks like it then came down and went up again, but in actuality, once it hit the money management level, this stop would have then moved up and trail the balance line, and it would have stopped out here for partial gain, and then this would have been the second trade here, like so. So this session actually took 2 trades to get to its full winner, okay? And there were so many great trades on so many different charts and markets, and clearly I can't cover them all, and I am trying to keep these videos somewhat short, or at least not too long. So I'll just leave you with a couple Forex examples. The Asian session is an interesting session to trade for those of you who work or can't trade in the daytime, want to do some day trading in the evening trading, I guess you'd call it, but day trading because you're in and out the same day. Start at 6 p.m. New York time, 1800, and you could use this Euro-Yen 6-pip momentum bar or a number of other Yen or Aussie Forex pairs. And let's just look at this one here. This is at 21:49. This is literally 10 minutes before 10 p.m. This is a longer session because the trades are slower. So you could definitely trade this in the evenings, but it works exactly the same way. Remember, you don't want to take any target that's under 10 pips. And you scale out at each target with a percentage of your trade, and if a target's too small, you just take that part of the position off at the next target. But in this case, you can see target 1 is 10 pips, target 2, 16, target 3, 22, target 4, 28 pips. And so all those targets can be used. You scale out as you hit each one. And this is pretty straightforward. It comes up, hits target 1, the stop moves up, takes the risk off the trade, hits target 2. So you got 10 pips coming off here and minus spread, so more like 8 pips, 16 pips minus spread, 14 pips coming off here, and then it pushes up even further and hits the perfect target 3. Good for 22 pips, so after spread, probably 20 pips, and then it stops out right here, and goals reached, 1 trade. You could trade the pound Aussie during the Asian session as well. Let's take a look. We're waiting for our 1800 start time. And a lot of crappy price action in here, but you just, you got to be patient. Finally, there's a short setup here. And it's a really small trade. You would ignore targets 1 and 2. You have to just focus on taking profits at target 3 and 4. You're not interested in 4 pips or 8 pips. You're interested in 12 pips and 16 pips. And it gets short, and it does hit target 3, which is good for your 12 pips minus your spread. and then it comes up and stops out for a minimal profit, but a winner nonetheless. And if you want to trade it during the European session, wait till 2 a.m. So 2 a.m., that's a late Asian session trade, a nice winner. But remember, the goals were already achieved. Well, that was a really nice one. So here's a trade here. Still not 2 a.m. A lot of action. You have a trade here, still not 2 a.m. So you're ignoring all these. This trade here is still not 2 a.m. So lots of action last night. Just wait for our setup. There's no trade. This one cancels. So we're still waiting. Still waiting. Finally get a long trade. Triggers in right around 4 a.m. New York time. That counts. This goes from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. It's a 3-hour session, the European session. And so that's your first trade. And it gets long and a good sized trade. All the targets are eligible to be profit centers, profit levels. And it looks like it might stop and reverse, but it stays green, stays green. The short trade cancels, stays green still, almost stops out, and then it does. It stops out, unfortunately. So the European session ends up being a losing session. So could you trade during the bridge between the European and US session? You can. I don't recommend it. It's not a session we typically pay attention to. Instead, you're waiting for the US session at 8:30. Although there are some nice trades during the bridge session, and you may decide to do that. I would just have you go through the steps to test it out for yourself. So, I mean, some excellent trades. Look at these nice winning trades in here. So waiting for 8:30, and there's already a trade in progress. So we're just going to let that finish and wait for the next one. It happens to be here. It's a long trade right around 8:52. It does trigger long. And it almost stops out, but then it comes up and hits its first target of 12 pips and then stops out. So 2 winning sessions. Unfortunately, the European session, a losing session on the pound Aussie. But these are good charts to trade in general. You're going to hit your goals most of the time and control your drawdown with minimal and efficient trading, which is the big picture goal of the Spotlight Power Trader. All right, so there's some trades for you. Sub-Zero was really good too, but this video has gotten long enough, so I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I hope you enjoyed it. This is TJ with Netpicks and the Spotlight Power Trader.